Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karo More Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karo More Rama Bina Ke Dayalu Jagat Samsare Patita Pavanare Tava Avatara Samapatita Prabhu Namai Behara Mahaprabhu Nityananda Premananda Avalokana Karo Ami Bada Dukhi Daya Karo Sitapati Advaita Caitanya Yuga Sri Jivaha Prabhu Lokanath Daya Karo Srinacharya Prabhu Srinivasa
Dear Lord Caitanya, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than your Lordship within these three worlds? Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls, but I assure you that you will not find a greater fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is first. My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, then I may also become happy. My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be merciful to me. If you are kind to me, naturally, Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda will also be kind to me. O Svarup Damodar, personal secretary of Lord Chaitanya, O six Goswamis, O Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. O Lokanath Goswami, my beloved spiritual master, Narottam Das also prays for your mercy. O Srinivas Acharya, successor to the six Goswamis, please be merciful to me. Narottam Das always desires the company of Ramachandra Chakravarti. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unlitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Didati Svam Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagujatam Sahagana Raganatan Vidam Dam Sajivam Sadvedam Savadam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pangur Mama Manda Matergati Matsar Vasva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohano Dibyad Bindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnagara Singha Srimad Radha Shilagovinda Devo Prestalabi Savyamano Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Bamsi Statati Karshan Venus Fanar Gopir Gopinatha Shri Estuna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyas cha Kripasindubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare 32 is where we begin. That's what Arjunananda told me. Go look on the board. Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. Check. Huh? 34. Vande Guron Isha Bhaktan Isham Eva Tarakan Tat Pakasams Tatak Chakta Chakti Krishna Chaitanya Samnakyam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual masters, the devotees of the Lord's incarnations, his plenary portions, his energies, and the primeval Lord himself, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami has composed this Sanskrit verse for the beginning of his book, and now he will explain it in detail. He offers his respectful obeisances to the 6 principles of the Absolute Truth. Gurun is plural in number because anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on the revealed scriptures is accepted as a spiritual master. Although others give help in showing the way to beginners, the guru who first initiates one with the Maha Mantra is to be known as the initiator, and the saints who give instructions for progressive advancement in Krishna consciousness are called instructing spiritual masters. The initiating and instructing spiritual masters are equal and identical manifestations of Krishna, although they have different dealings. Their function is to guide the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami accepted Nityananda Prabhu and the 6 Goswamis in the category of guru. Isha Bhaktan refers to the devotees of the Lord like Sri Srivas and all other such followers were the energy of the Lord and are qualitatively non-different from him. Ishavatarakan refers to acharyas like Advaita Prabhu, who is an avatar of the Lord. Tat Prakashan indicates the direct manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nityananda Prabhu, and the initiating spiritual master. Tak Shakti refers to the spiritual energies, Shaktis, of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar, Damodar, and Jagadananda belong to this category of internal energy. The 6 principles are differently manifested, but all equally worshipable. Krishnadas Kaviraj begins by offering his obeisances unto them to teach us the method of worshiping Lord Chaitanya. The external potency of Godhead, called Maya, can never associate with the Lord, just as the darkness cannot remain in the presence of light. Yet darkness, being but an illusory and temporary covering of light, has no existence independent of light. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Askicha Deshatarane. So the most important and epic Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, everyone knew it was to be such. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami balked, B-A-L-K-E-E-D, at the idea of him being the biographer. In other words, it wasn't that he wrote a book and just named it, just like we see authors write novels or fictions or whatever they write, and they put their name on it, and like, I did this. Such and such book is associated with this personality. And mundane people think this is very, very wonderful and give all types of adulation and credit to such persons. After Prabhupada spent the wonderful 2 months, July and August, and which culminated in the installation, which was just 50 years celebrated, of Sri Sri Radha Gokulananda at the Bhaktivedanta Manor, just duly gifted, donated by George Harrison. Prabhupada went to Sweden, and he was speaking at, what is that place called? Ursula University. And Prabhupada was speaking standard presentation of Krishna consciousness. And one student either interrupted or at least waited to the question and answer period and says, well, Hermann Hesse says this, that, the other thing, and Hermann Hesse is, especially at that time, so many years ago, was very famous and like looked up to as a quote unquote authority by young people. And Prabhupada said, who is Hermann Hesse? And the student, you don't know who is Hermann Hesse? And says, if he is not one of this, he's not in our line of disciplic succession, so what he says is meaningless. So, a very good qualification that is to be perceived in coming to write such, or be the via media for such important revelation of the Lord. Krishna himself claims the Vedas are indeed non-different than myself. They are non-different than my breathing. We've come to you, O Sutta Goswami, to try to understand where religious principles have gone for shelter in the dense, dark, terrible age of Kali Yuga. Those who have lost their way, they will get light from Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the torchbearer of the absolute truth, the literary incarnation of Krishna. A Vaishnava can turn a disadvantage into an advantage. Maharaj Parikshit, the last surviving heir of the Pandavas, whom the entire Kurukshetra war was fought for. Assassination attempt upon him while he's lying in embryo. Krishna saves him. And he's just newly begun his rule. He's a young man, cursed to die within 7 days. This is terrible. And all the great personalities throughout the entire universe knew the importance of this, and they all gathered on the bank of the Ganges, where he made a decision to fast until death. And then the greatest devotee of them all, Shukadeva Goswami, appeared to reveal the book incarnation of Krishna, the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, such injustice that his forefathers suffered, and then he himself unjustifiably removed, and he was standing between the living entities and Kali Yuga. He chastised the personality of Kali. And after of course it's predicted, just like in Prabhupada says, in the rainy season, rains are expected. One must prepare. So Krishna personally arranged that his dearmost devotee, Maharaj Parikshit, the dearmost grandson of his beloved Pandavas, would be the conduit for the Srimad Bhagavatam to be revealed. And Prabhupada said himself of his own books, which will be the law books for the next 10,000 years, for the glorious golden age of Lord Caitanya, an eddy, an ebb tide that would which would diametrically oppose the onslaught of this Kali Yuga. That my books will be the law books for humanity. I did not write these books. Krishna wrote these books. Prabhupada said that I write these books understanding their importance, therefore, with great concentration, I think which each and every word, how it should be spoken. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was chosen. He had so many qualifications. Number one, he's spotlessly pure Mahabhagavat, pure devotee, but particularly observable, he was present where Raghunath Das Goswami would narrate the last pastimes that he witnessed being in Jagannath Puri non-stop for 12 years. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they came to Vrindavan. They came to Jagannath Puri and had the Lord's association for a short period of time, I believe 10 months. Whereas Raghunath Das Goswami, out of all the 6 Goswamis, had the most association of Lord Caitanya, and not only just that association, but he was posted as the personal servant of Swarup Damodar Goswami, who was the closest associate of Lord Caitanya, being the incarnation of Lalita Devi himself, or herself. The secretary means secret. If one has a very good personal assistant, secretary, one should consider oneself extremely fortunate, especially in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, where disloyalty and subterfuge and all types of sinister politics are the vogue, are in vogue, or is in fashion. When the Lord appeared as to Aditi, who was praying that she would get a son that would be able to kill Indra and reinstate, kill a different story. Reinstate her sons, the demigods, back in the heavenly planets after they had been routed out by Bali Maharaj and the other demons. So this led to the Lord's appearance as Vamanadev to quote unquote trick Bali Maharaj into, in the name of giving 3 paces of land that would include the entirety of the whole universe. So first he appeared as Lord Vishnu and said, "Yes, I will come." There was so much calculation beforehand. This is not the right time. We have to wait. Calculation. So this was to be kept a secret. So the Lord told his soon-to-become mother, "My dear mother, O virtuous lady, even if someone inquires, one should not disclose this fact to anyone. That which is very confidential is made successful if kept secret." So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami heard from such a confidential associate of the Lord, Raghunath Das Goswami. So it was unanimous throughout the entire Vaishnav community that he would be the one, no matter how much he protested, would be the revealer of Sri Caitanya Caritamrita. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he was ordered 3 times in dream by his spiritual master, take sannyas. One of his leading godbrothers, who was like one of the closest organizers to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, kind of refused Srila Prabhupada taking sannyas unless he submitted to his idea of what he should do and correct the mistakes he supposedly did for so many decades by not aligning himself with his particular society or version of what is the Gaudiya Math at the time. But ultimately, Bhakti Pragna Keshav Maharaj one of the godbrothers that Srila Prabhupada was friendly with for the longest time, insisted. And it's described that his godbrother's assistance, understanding that it was representing his spiritual master's desire that he take sannyas, overcame his natural humility. A devotee is not interested in elevation to a higher status of life, and certainly a position where people are duty-bound to offer all types of respect. It is very dangerous for one to be put in a position where the dangers of desires for name, fame, profit, adoration, and distinction will be left unchecked, and that will ultimately lead to one's downfall. So one accepts a higher position, so-calledly, to be able to perform more devotional service. But devotional service is accepted by the Lord from anyone in any so-called status of life. Prabhupada mentions in the purport in the 8th canto, it's not that the Lord is only pleased with the higher or more, the most quote-unquote advanced devotees. He's pleased even with all of his devotees, even the brand new devotees. And if they remain sincere, he will give them all instruction to come to the topmost platform. And keeping in mind, an advanced devotee is not just one who is named or thus designated, but one who has won over the Lord to such an extent that the Lord has become practically his servant. And the Caitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das Thakur says, just see, Prabhupada includes this quote in the 5th canto from Caitanya Bhagavat, just see the greatness of Kolavechar Sridhar. His eternal identity is one of the Das Gopals, one of the 12 intimate cowherd boyfriends of Krishna and Balaram. But in Lord Chaitanya's Leela, he's poverty-stricken, in a low caste. He's just trying to eke out his livelihood by selling banana leaves to make plates and cups. And Lord Chaitanya would personally come there and joke with him and spend so much time and take so much of his association, even drinking from his iron pot. You could see Kolavechar Sridhar's place in Mayapur. It's just behind, a few yards away from the Jagannath temple. A memorial was instructed to be built some 100 years ago by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Just see his greatness. Topmost demigods who are the most opulent, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other demigods, shed tears at seeing his greatness. And that greatness is his level of devotional service. So here, in this verse, this is very nice. This is a personally composed verse in Sanskrit by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to begin the book. So this chapter, the spiritual masters, knowing the profundity and the greatness and importance of the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has given us this chapter to understand the diverse manifestations of the Lord, ultimately to understand the greatness of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and in particular, his intense desire to save all the fallen conditioned souls and elevate them to the stage of Vraja Prema Bhakti as quickly as possible through his wide diffusion of spiritual masters in all different categories. He offers his respectful obeisances to the 6 principles of the Absolute Truth. Gurun is plural in number because anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on the revealed scriptures is accepted as a spiritual master. So we have the understanding of Vartma Pradaksha Guru. Prabhu, how did you come to Krishna consciousness? So many of us can account devotee who approached us first or was instrumental in helping us. Vaikuntanath, who was one of the earlier devotees, he joined here in New York at 26 Second Avenue. He was a shy devotee, but he had a burning question. And he was, for years, thinking how to ask Prabhupada this question that he had. And finally, there was the opportunity. He was very, very lucky. He and his wife, who also an amazing devotee, Saradiya, she was also an artist. She joined in San Francisco when she was only, in 1967, when she was only 16 years old. And that famous photograph of Prabhupada conducting the marriage ceremony for 3 couples. One of those devotees just now passed away, Nanda Kishore. He was one of the famous actors, Vaikuntanath players. Rukmini, Bharadvaj, Nanda Kishore, Janava, Vaikuntanath, Saradiya. So Vaikuntanath's question, and he asked Srila Prabhupada this in the Radha Damodar temple after Prabhupada had given one of his lectures in the courtyard in front of Rupa Goswami, whose disappearance day is tomorrow. Normally, somehow the calendar has it different. On this Ekadasi is also Rupa Goswami's disappearance day, but it's actually this year celebrated tomorrow. And he's returning to his rooms, and he had the opportunity to ask this question. And here's the question. Prabhupada, you say that unless everyone becomes initiated, they can't go back home, back to Godhead. So we're distributing so many of your books, so how, that was his, they get the book, but all right, it's all well and good, but they have to become initiated. And Prabhupada said this, as soon as they get the book and even read one line, they are initiated. And then Prabhupada went on to explain, as a mundane but very easy to understand example. Just like a boy and a girl or a man and a woman, they meet and they fall in love and they become attached. That is the initiation. The marriage ceremony coming later, that is so just like Srila Prabhupada, what did you think? His friend Narendranath Malik, who dragged Prabhupada, you have to meet this sadhu. No, I don't want to meet another sadhu. I've seen them all. Why are you wasting my time? No, he's different. You have to come. And Prabhupada was like amazed. And he, with due diligence, had given up his diploma that he had labored for so many years at the very prestigious Scottish Churches College, British institution, and joined Gandhi's movement. What the British did in India for 240 or 50 years was just so atrocious, such a crime against the Indian people, all of the terrible things that they did. So coming to the point of becoming a nationalist was not just like becoming a hippie or, whatever, just for some whimsical thing. It was very well thought out. And so all the intelligentsia of India, this getting the British out of India, this was the people's cause, and this cause was God himself. So by meeting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he just saw this, which everyone else saw as so important, and the meaning of, we must correct this injustice that has harmed our people for so many hundreds of years. He gave it up. Not giving up the idea to save his people, but that was included in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's instruction to propagate this Krishna consciousness movement. I was defeated, Prabhupada said. And Prabhupada was the natural leader. I've never been defeated before in my life, but this defeat feels very good. Actually, it's not a defeat, it's a great gain. I accepted him as my spiritual master immediately, not officially, but within my heart. Spiritual master is in love with Krishna, and he radiates out that love to everyone else. Our saintly Adi Prush, who has been doing Food for Life and so many other outreach programs here in New York City for well over 20 years. He's well into his 70s now. He's just doing the Food for Life at Tompkins Square Park. So as a young man in 1974, he was doing the guard duty for Srila Prabhupada, staying in a house in rural New Vrindavan. And he was going to do guard duty from 9 o'clock at night till 4 in the morning. And it gave him like a gun and a rifle, and, you know, and it was like a split-level house, you know, like a ranch-style house, but the garage was like down, so it was like underneath the rest of the house. So he's standing there, and then it started to rain. So he goes in to the garage and pulls the garage door down. And Prabhupada's light went on. It just happened to be 1 o'clock in the morning. And Prabhupada came down, and this is the first time he's all alone, face to face with his spiritual master, not just like another face in the crowd. And he pays his obeisances, and yes, Srila Prabhupada, how may I serve you? And the way Adi Prush describes it, Prabhupada was standing there like a fathomless mountain. And he just said, you can go where I cannot go. Where is that, Srila Prabhupada? Into the future. And in the future, Prabhupada said, and you can tell everyone and represent to them how much Krishna loves them. So the devotee, the inculcator of Krishna's love, he is a spiritual master in diverse manifestations. Gurun is plural in number because anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on the revealed scriptures is accepted as a spiritual master. Although others give help in showing the way to beginners, the guru who first initiates one with the Mahamantra is to be known as the instructor, and the saints who give instructions for progressive advancement in Krishna consciousness are called instructing spiritual masters. So the Vartma Pradaksha Guru, someone who they might have had like some minuscule kind of help, you know, but for us it was huge. It was like in the right place at the right time, and it brought us forward. But they themselves maybe retreated from the path, or they themselves didn't become a devotee themselves, but they helped us. There's the amazing story of, the thief, dacoit, murderer, and he's running from the police. Constables are trying to catch him, and he runs past a place where a very famous pure devotee spiritual master is speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, and many people are gathered. So while running, he stops and looks and maybe pauses for 5 seconds, has a very favorable impression, and keeps going. So somewhat down the path, a pilgrim devotee was searching for this place where the Srimad Bhagavatam is being spoken by this great saint. He says, do you know where this place is? And the thief and dacoit, while he's running away from the police, said, yeah, it's over here. So he went there. The pilgrim found his way by that direction and became initiated by the pure devotee, went back home, back to Godhead. So when the thief, murderer, and dacoit, his death comes, the Yamadutas take him to Yamaraj, and Yamaraj hears from Chitragupta, and Chitragupta brings out that he did this and said, he doesn't belong here. He's this man's spiritual master. So, but then devotees who aren't on that, they're continuous instructing spiritual, they're continuing to give us instruction and guidance. And Srila Prabhupada had that, how ISKCON would be managed, becoming bigger and bigger with so many devotees that he himself would not be able to give so much association to all of his disciples, but he counted upon his senior disciples or those who were very much fixed up to give association to the other God brothers and God sisters. The initiating and instructing spiritual masters are equal and identical manifestations of Krishna, although they have different dealings. So it's not mentioned in this purport, but in other places in this chapter, that sometimes the shiksha or instructing spiritual master becomes more prominent than the diksha spiritual master. Their function is to guide the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami accepted Nityananda Prabhu and the 6 Goswamis in the category of guru. So just as Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur appeared to Srila Prabhupada in dreams, come, take sannyas at 3 times. So we will read here, coming in chapter 5, the glories of Lord Nityananda, how Lord Nityananda appeared directly to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the mood of who he is, Lord Balaram, with his cowherd boyfriends, but he was in that mood, but he was Lord Nityananda. And he said, go to Vrindavan, because there you will achieve all things. So he gives credit to Lord Nityananda for giving him that instruction and giving him the power and the courage to take shelter in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Taking shelter in Sri Vrindavan Dham for right reason takes great courage and great sincerity. It is not a trifling thing like, let me go to this place and have a vacation. Prabhupada had said that if some of my disciples can live in Vrindavan as real Goswamis, that would be very inspiring. And he said if I had, I forget the number, I think it was 12, something like that, maybe a little more, devotees who could become Goswamis in Vrindavan, I could take over the entire world. So Srinivasacharya, he glorifies the 6 Goswamis. They are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are engaged in the service of Radha and Krishna. Isha Bhaktan refers to the devotees of the Lord like Sri Srivas and all other such followers who are the energy of the Lord and are qualitatively non-different from him. Energy and energetic. Indeed, Lord Caitanya is Krishna himself, combined with his supreme Mool Prakriti energy, Srimati Radharani. Hence, he is the golden avatar. And that is the beauty of Lord Chaitanya's Leela, is that the Lord and all of his eternal associates in Goloka Vrindavan have become his associates here in the Leelas of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to propagate the Sankirtan movement. So interesting and intriguing is this subject matter that Sri Kavi Karnapur, who was the youngest son of Shivananda Sain, whose, as a baby, Lord Chaitanya allowed him to suck his toe, his big toe. You know, he crawled up to Lord Chaitanya and took his feet and put his big toe in his mouth. Has given us some, imagine, you know, how he would be empowered to write such high caliber, perfect transcendental literature after having the toe of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to... So he has given us one, Gora Gonadesh Deepika, which is a catalog describing who's who in Chaitanya Leela and Radha Krishna's Leela. So Prabhupada is mentioning Gadadhar, Damodar, and Jagadananda, who are all, Jagadananda is in the mood of Satyabhama, Gadadhar is in the mood of Rukmini, Damodar, I can't recall off the top of my head. They all belong into this category of internal energy. The six principles are differently manifested, but all equally worshipable. Krishnadas Kaviraj begins by offering his obeisances unto them to teach us the method of worshiping Lord Chaitanya. That's why Prabhupada has told us that if we chant the names Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhar, Sri Vasari, Gaur Bhaktabrinda, then before all other devotional activities, then whatever we do will be perfect. The external potency of Godhead, called Maya, can never associate with the Lord, just as darkness cannot remain in the presence of light. So Prabhupada's first attempt to fulfill the order of his spiritual master to preach in English, 1944, Back to Godhead magazine, with the epitaph, Godhead is light, nescience is darkness. Where there is Godhead, there is no nescience. Yet darkness, being but an illusory and temporary covering of light, has no existence independent of light. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.